Welcome back, everyone. Now that we have understood what toys are and why toy design matters, let's shift our attention to the incredible variety of toys that exist. In this lecture, we will examine how classifications, the intuitive ones designer use, and the formal ones like BIS and global industry categories, so you can speak the language of toy professionals. By the end of this lecture, you will know how the industry classifies toys, how BIS categories them for safety, and how designers organize them for understanding and creation. Most importantly, you will be able to apply these categories when ideating your own toys, choosing functions, purpose, material, and experience with intention. And you will know how toy categories help designers organize ideas, communicate with stakeholders, and position a toy in the marketplace. These categories will help you articulate what you want your toy to do, who it's for, and what kind of experience it should offer. This lecture gives you the vocabulary to describe your design decisions. Toys may look simple on the outside, but when we start categorizing them, we realize just how diverse, intentional, and thoughtfully designed they really are. In this section, we are not judging toys or analyzing them deeply. That will come later. For now, we are simply exploring how toys can be grouped based on what they do, how they are used, what they are made of, and the kind of experiences they offer. And as we go through these categories, I want you to think about the toys you grew up with. Which ones encouraged you to explore? Which ones pushed your imaginations? Which one connected you with others? This is going to help you develop a designer's eye for identifying patterns in toys, intentions behind toys, and the many different experiences toys can create. So let's look at toys across different categories, not to limit them, but to understand their richness. The categories that we will discuss first are the ones that will aid us as designers, such as by function, interaction, experience, purpose, and material. These are simple, intuitive, and may map directly to design decisions. Let us start with toys based on what they do, their function. This is one of the easiest ways to understand the diversity of toys. The first one is sensory toys. Sensory toys are toys designed to stimulate the senses, sight, sound, touch. Think of rattles, texture board, squeeze toys, light up toys. Take this rattle. For example, it uses different colors to help the child visually separate each part of the toy. It also offers tactile explorations through rounded bars and a textured handle, so the child can feel the shapes and surfaces. And finally, there is auditory feedback. These tiny beads inside make a sound when the child moves it, shake it. The sound becomes one of the earliest lessons in cause and effect. When I move it, something happens. Second is the manipulative or construction toys. Manipulative or construction toys invite children to move their hands, to twist, turn, stack, open, close. Blocks, stacking rings, shape sorter, interlocking pieces, they strengthen fine motor skills and early problem solving. But we are not diving into development theory yet. A shape sorter is a classic manipulative toy because the play experience depends on how the child handles and controls the pieces. To make the block fit, child has to grasp it, rotate it, turn it around, test different angles, and push or pull it through an opening. This active manipulation strengthens how fine motor skills, finger control, and wrist movement, all essential foundations for writing, drawing, and tool use later on. At the same time, they are learning how shapes behave. A circle slides easily, but the star needs to be aligned. That spatial thinking, understanding size, edges, corners, and orientation, every attempt gives immediate feedback. If it fits, we achieve success. If it does not, we adjust the movement. This loop of try, adjust, try again is exactly what makes it manipulative toy. The learning comes from the child's physically exploring how objects work and how their own actions change the outcome. The third one is pretend play toys. Pretend play toys help children bring their imagination to life. Dolls, doctor kits, puppets, miniature vehicles, animal figures, they let children create worlds, act out stories, and make sense of real life experiences through pretend scenarios. A kitchen set supports pretend play because the objects stand in for something real. A toy pot seems to have real food. A plastic ladle becomes a cooking tool. The child knows it is not real, but they act as if it is. The toy gives just enough detail for recognition, but leaves enough openness for imagination. Children copy routines they see at home, invent new stories, assign roles, and build little worlds that leap from real object to imagined meaning is what makes it pretend play. The fourth one is the active toys. Active toys get the whole body moving. Balls, skipping ropes, frisbees, ride-ons. They invite children to run, jump, throw, chase, and burn energy. A skipping rope is a great example. It creates active play because the toy only works when the whole body is involved. The child must swing the rope, jump at the right moment, land, and repeat, combining balance, rhythm, timing, and coordination. There is a built-in physical challenge. Can I do one more jump? Can I go faster? The toy invites movement, repetition, and energy, all core features of active play. The fifth one is creative toys. Creative toys let children make something. Crayons, clay, building kits, open-ended craft sets. They encourage self-expression and sometimes a big mess, which is great for creativity. Play-Doh, for example, supports creative play because it has no fixed form of expected end product. The material bends, stretches, twists, rolls, flattens. Whatever the child imagines, they can shape. They create something, change it, destroy it, and start again. This freedom to transform the material again and again is what makes it creative. And the toy follows the child's ideas, not the other way around. Now let's look at how toys are used. Whether children play with them alone, with others, or with some digital or smart interactions built in. Independent toys. These are toys children can fully enjoy on their own. Building blocks, solo craft kits are great for focus, concentration, and a little creative solitude. This example of a solo craft kit is made for independent play because the child can complete the entire activity of their own. The tools, beads, strings, and small components invite quiet focus and fine motor work. They choose colors, arrange patterns, and decide the final look of their creation. Nothing in the kit requires another person. The feedback comes from the child's own decisions. Does this pattern look right? Does this bead fit? This self-directed decision-making and personal creative flow is what makes it an independent play experience. The next comes collaborative toys. These toys encourage interactions, negotiation, and turn-taking. Team building toys and construction sets designed for group play. They spark conversation, arguments, strategies, and laughter. For example, a board game is inherently collaborative because the experience only works when players interact. The board tokens, die rolls, and movement rules structure the play, but the fun happens between people. Players negotiate rules, celebrate wins, wait for turns, react to each other, and build strategy together. The toy creates an environment where social behavior is part of the play itself. Without collaboration, the game does not function. That's what defines this category. Next comes open-ended toys. These toys invite imagination, experimentation, and endless reinterpretation. Blocks, loose parts, set pegs, dolls, modular pieces. They become whatever the child needs them to be, encouraging symbolic thinking and creative problem solving. These wooden blocks are open-ended because they don't tell the child what to build. There is no picture to match or goal to reach. The blocks simply offer ambiguous shapes that can become anything. A tower, a town, rocket, fence. The meaning comes from the child. The simple forms, equal sizes, and repeatable pieces give children freedom to experiment, rebuild, and reinterpret. The toy follows the child's ideas, not the other way around, which is the essence of open-ended play. Next comes structured experience toys. These toys provide clear goals, steps, or outcomes. Puzzles, model kits, coding toys with defined sequences, they guide children through focused tasks, nurturing persistence, logic, and sense of achievement. A model kit, for example, offers a structured play experience because the toy guides the child through a fixed sequence. Identify the pieces, assemble them, and then test the model. Each part has a purpose. Gears fit only in certain slots. Axles lock in places. Panels must be aligned. The instructions shape the experience so the child learns how mechanisms work. The play is still hands-on and engaging, but the structure provides scaffolding. There is a clear end product. This stepwise guided assembly is what defines structured play. The next is digital toys. These are toys that link to screens or apps, augmented reality puzzles, coding robots, interactive storyboards. They blend digital engagement with physical play. This digital coding toy works through interaction between physical pieces and digital feedback. When the child places a coding tile, the system instantly shows what the character on screen will do. This loop: place a piece, see the result, adjust the piece, creates a dynamic learning environment. Because the toy responds to the child's choices, it feels alive and interactive. The digital layers provide challenges, hints, level, and visual outcomes that are not possible in purely physical toys. This integration of on-screen responsiveness is what makes it digital toy. Next comes smart toys. These toys respond to the child's actions. Toys with sensors, voice-activated toys, toys that move or react. They create a sense of the toy is alive, which can be magical for children. A smart toy becomes interactive through built-in sensors and a simple form of intelligence. For example, the robot listens for voice commands and responds. It moves, lights up, or speaks back. Because the toy reacts based on the child's input, the play feels more like engaging with a character than an object. The toy adapts, learns simple patterns, or offers new prompts, making each interaction slightly different. That responsive, adaptive behavior beyond static electronics is what defines a smart toy. The next comes the surprise toys. These toys use anticipation, uncertainty, and reveals as their core play experience. The joy comes not just from playing with the toy, but from discovering what the toy is. Surprise toys operate through curiosity, suspense, and emotional payoffs. The child moves from not knowing to knowing, and that transition is the play itself. There are two distinct types within the category. First, toy as a surprise. Here, the entire toy is the surprise. For example, in the case of Kinder Joy, the child does not know what toy object they will receive as a surprise. The packing hides the outcome, and opening it becomes a moment of excitement and anticipation. The experience unfolds in stages. The toy itself may be simple, but the reveal moment carries the emotional weight. Here, the surprise is not inside the toy itself is the surprise. The next is surprise within a toy. In this type of toy contains unexpected outcome beyond the child's anticipation or imagination. For example, a magical pop-up box or mechanism-based toy reveals something sudden. A figure springs out, a form unfolds, or a hidden transformation appears. The child may know something will happen, but not when, how, or what exactly. This unpredictability creates wonder, laughter, or sometimes playful shock. Another way to classify toys is by their purpose, what they aim to give the child. This will include educational toys. These toys teach something often subtly. STEM kits, coding toys, magnetic letters, logic puzzles, they introduce skills, but the learning happens through play, not pressure. For example, these magnetic letters are educational because they are designed with a very clear learning purpose to help children recognize, arrange, and play with alphabet forms. Their bright colors and chunky shapes makes each letter easy to identify and grasp. The magnetic backing provides instant success feedback. If it sticks, it stays, making it easier for the child to build words or sequences. The toy guides learning gently, matching letters, spacing simple words, sorting vowels and consonants. Every action is tied to early literacy. That intentional design, where play leads naturally into learning, is what makes this an educational toy. Next is entertainment toys. These toys are primarily for fun. Action figures, fantasy toys, spinning tops, quirky novelty toys. Their goal is pure enjoyment. This yo-yo is purely designed for entertainment, for the thrill of movement and mastering tricks. The spinning action, the tug and return motion, the metallic shine, everything invites fun, repetition, and challenge. There is no story to act out, no learning objective, no symbolic meaning. The toy entertains through motion. Can I make it go lower, faster? Can I learn a new trick? This direct pleasure from skill and speed is why the yo-yo sits firmly in the entertainment category. The next is the therapeutic or special needs toys. These toys support emotional regulation, sensory needs, or developmental challenges. Fidget toys, sensory beans, chewable toys, weighted plush toys. A sensory bean becomes therapeutic because it creates a safe, calming space for children to explore textures and movement. The rice stones, sticks, scoops, and miniature trucks appeal to the senses in predictable, soothing ways. Children pour, dig, feel, empty, and repeat these actions, and repetition is naturally regulating. The soft sound of rice, the smoothness of stones, the controlled motion of scooping help children slow down, focus, and center themselves. And most of all, they allow the child to express themselves through the narratives they build. These narratives often signal to a therapist about what exactly the child might be going through. They use setups like these to help with anxiety, sensory processing needs, or emotional grounding. Its purpose is not performance, it's comfort, regulation, and calm. The next is the collectible or aspirational toy. These toys tap into identity, preferences, or fandom. Beyblades, miniature vehicles, Funko figures, theme-based collections, they are often played with and proudly displayed. Lego minifigures, for example, are collectible because they are intentionally designed for rarity, variety, and identity. Each figures represent a distinct character: a knight, astronaut, scientist, a pirate, an artist, giving children and adults someone to identify with. The excitement comes from collecting, completing a set, or finding a rare edition. They also spark social play. Children trade, compare, and display their favorite characters. Their purpose is not just play, it's aspiration, belonging, and identity building, which is why they belong the collectible category. And finally, toys can also be grouped by what they are made of. And this is just a quick introduction, since we will explore materials for toys in detail later. Wood. Wooden toys are durable, tactile, and often eco-friendly. Think puzzles, pull toys, stacking blocks, traditional craft toys. A wooden toy behaves the way it does because of the material itself. Wood has a natural weight and resistance which comes. This loader truck feels solid in a child's hand and moves with a satisfying physicality. The grain edges and smooth sanding creates a rich tactile experience, warm, natural, and grounding. Because wood can be carved and joined, the moving bucket or wheels feel sturdy and reliable. Wooden toys also carry a history, from Channapatna to European craft traditions. Wood has always symbolized durability and heritage. When designers choose wood, they are designing for simplicity, longevity, and meaningful tactile play. Clay. Clay-based toys are some of the oldest play material we know. Traditional terracotta vessels, miniature kitchen sets, figurines, and hand-molded play objects all fall into this category. Clay creates a completely different play environment because it is alive with texture and cultural memory. This miniature kitchen set is crafted from terracotta, earthy, slightly cool to touch, and beautifully imperfect. Children engage more gently because clay is delicate, teaching care, patience, and respect for objects. The hand-painted motifs carry cultural stories, traditional kitchens, food rituals, and craft identity. Clay toys have existed for thousands of years, from Harappan figurines to today's village craft. When designers choose clay, they are designing for cultural continuity, sensory richness, and mindful play. Fabric. Soft toys, plush animals, cloth books, hand puppets fall into this category. Warm, comforting, and safe for young children. A fabric toy behaves like a companion, warm, soft, and safe. This sensory turtle uses fabric because layered textiles allow designers to embed multiple sensory challenges: zippers, buttons, varied textures, felt shapes, cotton padding. Fabric bends and moves with the child, making it ideal for early social emotional play, hugging, carrying, soothing. The material also lowers risk. No hard edges, no sharp corners. Designers choose fabric when the toy needs to be comforting, flexible, or tactilely rich, supporting both the motor play and emotional grounding. Plastic. Most mass-produced toys today are plastic. This is because they are lightweight, can be made colorful, and are easy to manufacture because they can be molded into almost any shape. Lego works because of plastics. ABS plastic can be molded at high precision, which gives Lego bricks their trademark click, a consistent, reliable connection that enables complex buildings. The colors are bright, the edges are clean, and the bricks can survive decades of play. Plastics' versatility allow thousands of shapes, accessories, and themes, something impossible with wood or clay. When designers choose plastic, they are designing for modularity, durability, and endless construction possibilities. Next is paperboard. Board games, card games, folded models, and many DIY kits use paperboard because it is strong, sustainable, and surprisingly versatile. Cards need to bend without breaking, shuffle smoothly, fan out easily, and display clear symbols. The coated paperboard gives just the right slide and snap, making repeated handling fun. Because paperboard is printable, every card can carry color, numbers, and action signs, essentials for gameplay. Designers choose paperboard when they need a material that is affordable, expressive, and tactile, supporting fast-paced, repeatable play. The next is craft-based materials. Materials like lacquer, terracotta cloth, cane, used in many traditional Indian toys, give us a window into local craftsmanship and culture. Toys with craft based materials usually draw their identity from where they come from and who makes them. These materials are not just substances, they represent craft clusters, families of artisans, and generations of skills. For example, Channapatna is known for lacquer wooden toys made using a centuries old turning technique. Kashmir's papier mâché toy bring delicate hand painting and storytelling traditions. Bamboo and cane toys from Assam or Nagaland reflect resourcefulness and local ecology. The material and the craft process deeply shape the play experience. Toys feel warm, handcrafted, and culturally grounded. Many contemporary designers like Vernam and 100 hands artisans collaborate with craft people to create modern toys and honor tradition. When designers choose craft based materials, they are designing not just a toy, but a bridge between culture, sustainability, and play. Of course, toys do not need to be limited to the materials we have mentioned. Many toys, especially in folk traditions and early childhood settings, use materials that are not industrial at all. Leaves, seed pod, coconut shells, cane strips, or even simple coconut leaf sticks. Unconventional materials remind us that play does not always come from factories. It often comes from what is around us. Across India and the world, children have crafted toys from coconut leaves, corn husk, twigs, seeds, cotton scraps, or old tins. In South India, artisans weave coconut leaf birds and animals, teaching children gentle handling and natural forms. In rural Maharashtra, children roll tamarind seeds into spinning tops. In Bengal and Odisha, pith and shola are shaped into miniature animals. In contemporary spaces, designers and educators use upcycled cloths, recycled plastics also. Arvind Gupta, an Indian science educator and toy inventor, creates toy with everyday materials. To encourage children to redesign and rethink the objects around them, unconventional materials cultivate resourcefulness, sustainability, and imaginative problem solving. For toy designers, these materials open doors to low cost innovation and eco conscious design, where constraints become creative opportunities. What material a toy is made from does not influence how it looks. It affects how it feels in the child's hand, how it behaves, how durable it is, how safe it must be, and ultimately what kind of experience the toy supports. Material choice is a design decision. It's about sensory experience, safety standards, production process, cost, sustainability, and how long the toy will remain meaningful and useful for the child. We will explore materials much more deeply in a later stage, but for now, this gives us a glimpse into how material shapes the very nature of play. Having discussed this, we should also know that these are not the only ways to categorize toys. As designers, these practical categories help us make good design decisions. However, the toy industry, both globally and in India, employs formal classification system to monitor sales, establish safety standards, regulate imports, and structure the market. Industry categories are used by manufacturers and global markets, whereas regulatory categories such as those issued by Bureau of Indian Standards in India are for safety and compliance. The BIS categories tell you what safety tests must your toy pass, what age group it can be marketed to, and what materials and chemicals you can or cannot use. The BIS categories include toys for sensory motor activities, toys for physical activities, toys for intellectual activities, toys that reproduce the technical world, toys for the development of feelings and empathy, toys for creative activities, toys for social relationships. These further have an extensive list of categories within them based on age. But we won't go into deep compliance today. That comes in the safety and standard lecture. Toys for sensory motor activities. These are toys designed for the very first stage of exploration. Rattles, rings, roly-poly toys, pop-up action toys, sand and water toys, and simple shape sorter fall into this group. They stimulate early senses through texture, sound, movement, contrast, and graspable forms. The focus here is on creating simple actions with immediate feedback, so infants can discover what their bodies can do. Next is toy for physical activities. These toys support whole body movement. Pedal vehicles, kick scooter, balance bikes, walking bicycles, skates, indoor and outdoor activities toys, spinning tops, and toy sports equipments. Here the design prompts children to coordinate, balance, steer, run, climb, and take safe physical risks. The focus is on active exploration of space, strengthening confidence and control. The next is toys for intellectual activities. These category includes puzzle, building blocks, activity panels, gears, matching set, simple mechanical toys, scientific kits, and logical games. They invite thinking, matching, classifying, sequencing, predicting, and problem solving. Designers use patterns, modularity, and cause and effect mechanisms to gently stretch the child's reasoning skills. Next is toys that reproduce the technical world. These toys connect children with real-life systems, walkie-talkies, pretend phones, working microphones, limited function appliances, vehicles, and early robot toys. The focus here is scaled down technology, objects that let children experiment with tools and processes safely so they can begin to understand how the real world works. The next is toy for development of feeling and empathy. These include dolls, animals, characters, dollhouse with accessories, role play sets, themed mats, and simple costumes. These toys help children express, understand, and relate to emotions through storytelling, nurturing, and imagining different perspectives. The design emphasis here is on characters and worlds that children can emotionally connect with. The next is toys for creative activities. Stamps, stickers, paints, colors, clay, weaving looms, embroidery kits, musical toys, puppets, craft activities, and origami sets all fall here. These toys support open-ended expression, building, shaping, composing, designing, and inventing ideas. The focus is on creation rather than completion. The next is toy for social relationship. Finally, we have toys that encourage interaction. Board games with pathways, card games, family games, and magic kits. These toys spark cooperation, negotiation, turn-taking, communication, and shared storytelling. The design intention is to bring people together around a common experience. Now let's take a quick look at how the toy industry organizes categories. Unlike the design-focused categories we discussed earlier, industry-based toy categories reflect how the global market organizes toys. This system enables manufacturers to compare sales data, monitor global trends, and strategize their product portfolios. So they tend to be broad, commercial, and sometimes a bit overlapping. And that's okay. We won't go into detail here. The goal is simply to understand the landscape that designers are entering. From the Toy Industry Association, TIA, we see several categories such as we start with familiar commercial groups like action figures, which include characters, players, and non-costume role play props. We then have art and craft covering everything from crayons and paints to clay dough and creative kits. Battling toys are a niche category. Spinning, striking, or arena style toys without full body figures. Construction toys, including building sets with connectors or systems, while traditional blocks fall into preschool categories. The collectible category, cards, minifigures, erasers, stickers, is driven by trends, trading, and collectability. We also have costume and dress up. And of course, dolls, which range from fashion and nurturing dolls to display sets. And finally, educational toys, including early STEM kits, globes, map, and science-based toys. Next, we have games and puzzles, a major global category that includes family games, card, brain teasers, and travel games. Infant toys are a separate category because they follow stricter safety rules. Rattles, teether, play gym, squeeze toys, plush, early puzzles, and bath toys. The miscellaneous category is exactly what it sounds like. Top toys, yo-yo, marbles, jacks, pinwheels, sponge balls, all the odd ones out. Models include build your own replica kit, and musical toys range from child size instruments to sound toys for older kids. Outdoor and seasonal toys include bubbles, kites, gardening sets, pools, playground items, and water blasters. Plush toys get their own category as well. From infant plush to puppet to battery-powered plush with features. Preschool toys from 3 to 5 years include early learning toys, role play items, musical toys, push and pull toys, and talking toys. Sports toys include small sporting equipment, all kind of balls and children's scooters, skateboards, and skates. Vehicles are split into powered and non-powered categories. Powered vehicles include battery-powered cars, trains, and RC sets, and remote control sets. Non-powered vehicles include miniature cars, trucks, planes, boat, and finger-controlled extreme vehicles. These industry categories help combine, organize shelves, track trends, and plan product portfolios. As designers, you don't need to memorize them, but it's useful to know the ecosystem your toy will eventually sit in. Now, let us test what we know. What categories do you think this small non-powered toy car falls into? They are made out of fabric, so yes, they qualify as a fabric toy, but is it just that? At first glance, it is just a car, but even something these basic reflects intentional choice in design, purpose, material, and industry classification. Functionally, this is a pretend play toy. The moment a child pushes it across the floor, they are imagining movement, speed, traffic, racing. Even if they do not speak it aloud, there is always a narrative behind the action. Children give cars personalities, sounds, destinations, and sometimes entire worlds. In terms of experience, this toy works beautifully in independent play. A child can push, park, zoom, and repeat the same action with satisfaction. But it also supports collaborative play when two or more children start racing their cars or building a shared pretend scene together. Still, the overlap is minimal. It's naturally an independent, self directed toy. For purpose, this sits firmly in entertainment. There is no educational goal built into it, no structured learning outcomes. Its purpose is fun, movement, drama, and imagination. The joy comes from simple action: push, roll, crash, race, reset. Material wise, these vehicles are unusually made of plastic or die cast metal. The material determines how they feel. Metal cars have satisfying weight and smooth rolling, while plastic cars are lightweight, colorful, and safe for younger children. Either way, the choice of material shapes durability, speed, and how the child interacts with it. According to BIS, these falls under toys that reproduce the technical world. It's a scaled down version of a real vehicle designed to help children understand real world machines, understand real world machines in a safe, intuitive way. Even without mechanisms, it qualifies because it represents a real piece of technology. And in the industry classification, this belongs to mini vehicles. These are small scaled cars that are not powered, often collected in sets, and designed purely for rolling, play, and imaginative scenarios. So, even a tiny toy car, something we often consider just a basic toy, actually spans several meaningful categories and shows how much thought goes into classification. All right, let's try one more example. What category do you think these finger puppets fall into? They are made of fabric. So yes, they qualify as a fabric toy, but it can't be just that. Finger puppets combines symbolic play, storytelling, emotional expression, fabric material, independent and social play, and educational purpose, which means they slip into multiple categories, but in a very clean and meaningful way. Let's break it down. Functionally, finger puppets are pretend play toys. The moment a child puts one on their finger, they are not just moving fabric, they are taking on a role, giving it a voice, inventing a story. They also support creative expression because each puppet becomes a character. The child can shape, reinterpret, or even reinvent. In terms of experience, they work beautifully both alone and with others. A child might sit quietly and narrate a story to themselves, or they might create a puppet show with a friend, a sibling, or for an entire class. There is no fixed script, it's open ended. But in classroom or therapy, puppets are also used in structured ways to guide storytelling or emotional expression. For purpose, they check several boxes. They are educational. Teachers use them build vocabulary, sequencing, and confidence in speaking. They are therapeutic. Puppets act as safe buffer that allows children express feeling directly. And of course, they are entertaining. Children enjoy the performance, the voice, the tiny drama. Material wise, these are fabric toys. The softness, flexibility, and bright stitching are only possible because of the material. And the material shapes the kind of play it supports: gentle, expressive, emotionally warm. According to BIS, these fall under toys for development of feelings and empathy. Because puppets are characters, and characters allow children to explore emotions, relationships, and social situations. And finally, in industry classification, finger puppets sit securely under the plush category, specifically the puppets subcategory, which includes hand and finger puppets. So while they look deceptively simple, finger puppets are a wonderful example of a toy that carries multiple layers of design intention. From material choice to the type of play it enables, to the development and emotional experience it supports. So remember, your design category helps you create the toy. The BIS category tells you the safety and compliance requirements. The global industry category determines how the toy is marketed and sold. And a single toy can belong to one designer's category, one BIS category, and one or more industry category. A good designer understands multiple classification system but uses them differently. Design categories help shape the idea. Industry categories help take it to market. BIS categories keep it safe. This section arms you with the vocabulary to design responsibly and think like a professional. I hope today's lecture helped you recognize that the toy you design is not just a product, it is an experience, a relationship, a cultural message, and part of a global industry. Understanding these layers prepares you for what comes next, the toy development process, where ideas becomes prototype and prototype becomes meaningful play experiences. So take a moment to reflect. If toys are powerful, what power does a toy designer hold?